Good morning, everybody. Well, I don't know what we're going to do today. Wait for tomorrow. Not much happening here, but you never know. Big awaited jobs report tomorrow at 8:30, of course, and we'll see what happens here. So yesterday was pretty much as expected. Um, with any wide range bar, we say stay in the lower half. If it's really bearish, it'll stay in the lower third. It did that. And when we say where, the open and close, tails can move around. So it's right there at the bottom. For whatever reason, maybe it's a little relief rally. Who the hell knows? Coming off of the lows here. I guess it didn't go down. So a little move up, and it's taken out yesterday's high. And you can see my cursor's right into that pivot high on the hourly chart, and on the 15-minute charts, wiggling it around there so you can see over to the left from the 5-minute. So into a little resistance right there. I wouldn't say it's anything of significant, but that's where it got rejected. And it looked like it was going to go down here, but it didn't. It held, and just hesitancy to any larger commitment one way or the other. And then so we'll see how far it gets. If it gets through here, maybe, around 400. I got my horizontal line at 400. Yeah. And so I'm not expecting too much. Futures, you can see the overnight, the little same blip up there coming up to the 50 MA. But, I'm just going to go back to SPY there, because whatever, the 50 MA didn't catch my eye. Oh, it's right there. Okay, it's where it stopped the day before, and it's hanging there yesterday. And let's go back to S&Ps. And so the 50 MA is lined up with this little overhead stuff there. So it is lined up with some congestion. And that is, okay, so that is during the day. Right? You can see 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock before it went down. So coming into some resistance there. It'll stall. All right. SPX. Jake's in a rush. Okay, Jake. I do appreciate you throwing out your numbers each day, which are usually aligned with what I. So 40.45. If you can get above that, right? So this is about the average range over the last few days, give or take. And ideally, if we could do it, would be on the other side of it. So 40.40, things are moving up. So 40.45 is probably good. Was 40.40 was enough. So 40.45 is now a buck. You could even go 40.50. It's 70 by 80. And that'll be a no-brainer. I think 45, you maybe go for a little extra there. And 40.50, because things are moving up. And down below, this number probably doesn't have any premium anymore since things have moved up. And you'd have to go to 39.55. So I don't recommend that. If things should flip back over, you'd have to go through yesterday's low, but we want as much of a no-brainer as it possibly could be. Right? So this is what I had before things started to move up. All right, NQs. Now, this has held up the best, no doubt. And I said that, I think I said it here, but probably an MT Live or in the green room, one or the other. I'm going to repeat whatever I see. I said that this was the kind of pattern that could survive the down move, since it didn't come that deep into the green bar. Now, usually today would be the day that it flips all the way back up. After one day of stabilization, it would flip right back up again. Something similar to this. It's not the same, but here you got this is a strong move. This is a strong move. And then you get the bigger red bar. And the next day you get the reversal. So not exactly the same, but you get the idea. And so again, with the news coming out, it seems less likely that we're going to get a big substantial move. Mike's saying, so today's EWS was leaked yesterday around 3:30, causing that rally. I have no idea what was leaked, Mike. At 3:30 yesterday, just before that, in the green room anyway, this was a short. This was a short with the two topping tails and then the red one, and then covered half and then trailed prior 5-minute bars, and maybe something was leaked. I don't know. But on the retest, it went up quite a bit. News, yeah. All right, so this is doing absolutely nothing. The Russell led the way down the other day, and that's just hanging down here. So we'll see tomorrow, right? We'll see tomorrow, right? What's the number? What's the reaction? Do we close with a bottoming tail bar? Do we close with a red bar? Quick one again. Okay. Green room mentioning something else. Dow stuck near the prior low, bottom of the range there. Same story, coming into some resistance here as we get closer to the open. Dollar's still holding up. So that's one nail in the for the bulls. And interest rates, 10-year. Just hanging there, just waiting like everybody else, just waiting, nothing much going on. Will the earnings report have an effect today? Which earnings report, Javier? Dan can address that because they check earnings every night for selling puts or calls against those earnings reports. So, obviously this is saying the Fed is going to be more aggressive than what was thought. I don't know why the markets went down, what Powell said. Right? So whatever news comes out, whatever comes out of somebody's mouth, what's the market's reaction to it? And the market was like, yeah, they're going to do more. So markets went down. Same story here. Though the assumption is tomorrow that a report where more people are losing jobs. We know people are losing jobs, right? Facebook the other day said they're laying off more. What big company hasn't laid off people? So this whole thing with the hot jobs market, it seems more related to me rather than a normal situation of people getting jobs, more that because everything is abnormal because of the abnormality of this COVID disaster, where the money was being handed out to everybody to sit home. As that money begins to run out, oh geez, if I want to eat, I want to pay the rent, I better go get a job. So there was this pent up demand. And the people, you heard the news back then. I don't know if you did, but I remember down here in Florida, there was a McDonald's up in the north end of Florida that was offering people $50 just to come in for an interview because they couldn't get people to come to work. So that cycle begins to change. So is it a normal situation? You know what I mean? Where everybody is out there looking for work and people are getting jobs versus what happened from the very abnormal situation. And so now these numbers are all combobulated, but it is what it is. The market's going to act like they do. And anyway, so others that we look at. doing nothing, oil doing nothing, sitting there after the move down, and stabilization doing nothing. And so look, we'll sit here today. We'll see what day trades might be possible, but I don't think we're going to, Daniel might find things, but credit spreads, when you have this potential market moving news, I think it will be market moving. And even if it's jiggles for a while, it creates enough uncertainty. Whereas, do you want to put on a position and sit in front of that tomorrow? So it's up to you, of course. I'm done early. All yours, Dan. There's nothing moving around here too much. Dan said 1 second, everybody. Raul asked me about X above today's high. I guess for a day trade, Raul had a reversal day yesterday. So, the 15-minute chart's got like a head and shoulders bottom, a downside shakeout. So if it is moving up, it could be a scalper for a day trade. It did come down pretty darn hard. Look at that angle of retracement, 2 big red bars there. So I don't expect it would travel back up to the highs.
Good morning. So what you said, X? Yeah. Sure, it looks like a good day trade. Stole was stronger. It's on the list, 1, 2, 3 weekly. I had a lot of movement here in banks. Here, let me go a couple here on my watch list here before I get to earnings. Sky W was on our list yesterday, 180 breakout. That looks nice, bullish 15-minute chart. That looks like a day trade over the high. Len, I just posted a nice turn here with a void, closing strong. I was going to give a put spread also for next week, but it has earnings next week. SLVM, yeah, this is a breakout candidate. NVIDIA, very bullish consolidation. Yeah, so that's the leading semi to me. So we just need to keep an eye on the sector, of course, and the NASDAQ. Okta on the long list, bullish daily, weekly. I have an alarm. ETN's been strong, broke out, small little buy setup there. And DVD buy setup, but I don't know, it needs more time. HIMS, sloppy little buy setup. Okay, stabilized here after this gap, but it's getting its sea legs back. Charlie Sierra delayed their report. I said a couple of weeks ago, this thing's looks like it's on a death trend. Tesla here was going to be a day trade short, but the gap down's messing it up. That's end of day base we talked about in trading gaps yesterday in the T Live. And FedEx, yeah, I like the buy setup. Add it to the list. HWM needs to go sideways more, but it's bullish daily, weekly, monthly, sure. All right, look at this disaster. Let's see, I'm accused gap from last week will fill by tomorrow. Accused gap fill. I think it's going to totally depend on the data tomorrow, but of course, I mean, I don't have an opinion based on this chart. I would say no. Based on the news tomorrow, absolutely. I'm open to anything. All right, look at this. It's a regional bank that, Alex would always caution us that that, they got heavy Bitcoin exposure, and that's coming to fruition today. It's getting absolutely devastated. Let me put this in another chart over here. Well, I have it right there in the middle. I mean, that is a monster gap down. It's falling on the news of it did, well, a couple things. It's doing a secondary offering, it lost some money on some asset sales, and then it's getting whacked with the unwinding of this Silvergate thing. And so do y'all remember on this gap down, I made a big educational CD on trading news many years ago when I was working with Greg in California. And one of the items that I say, stay away from news items involving cooking the books, accounting irregularities, your CPA giving you a going concern exception. All those are the same flavor of do not fade it. So on that gap down, I said, do not fade it. And now look at it. Look how much lower it is. So the opening price that day was 769. So now it's down another 60% from there. So I have zero interest in that. It's probably going to zero. PCH. Yeah, that'd be a no-brainer. Put in. So I'm watching SIVB. It's just in the category of excessive gap to me. Does that mean it can't fall another $20? Of course not. But I'm going to watch it every day because I think it's so big, it will give us a setup eventually. And those puts are going to spike because of the fear to the downside, just like fear to the upside. Well, I'm sorry, greed to the upside, as we showed in MT Live yesterday. We showed you a couple climactic sell setups where the columns get jacked up. All right, SBNY had a big old gap down. It's already $5 off the low. When this is a potential what we call gap and snap, it's already down a lot. Now you're gapping down. And again, we talked about that yesterday, potential novice gap. But on novice gaps, I want the bigger the gap, the better. And now that it's $5 off the low, it's messing it up for me. Saba, here we go. Gaps. I love trading gaps in the morning. So look, it's gapping over this pivot. That is a pro gap. That is beautiful, beautiful pro gap. I got it on my other chart. I'm watching it. So remember, I have a 2-step process. Greg teaches a 7-step process. So my 2-step, because I lived in Dallas for a year and I like the Texas 2-step. So I have a compelling gap with a price void. That's step 1. Met. Step 2. Put it in a 5-minute window and look for one of those 8 pictures of bullishness that we show in MT Live every week. So am I going to press the button at the open? No. I just said, McFly, we got to see if it sets up on a 5-minute chart, but it's a tier 1 candidate. Tier 1 candidate for a pro gap right now, both for directional trades and put spreads. Thanks for we'll get to those earnings ones. We have a great track record on trading earnings. We have gotten big gaps against us, but I'm trying to think. I don't know. There hasn't been a single one where it's been a catastrophe. It might have been a 2x loss, something like that. I forget. All right, this looks 1000% like a SPAC. These SPACs have the identical footprint. They go flat at $10. They pop. This thing tanked, popped, tanked, popped. I mean, I'm doing absolutely nothing with that thing. Etsy got a double downgrade. I have no bias on this right now, so we just come back to it and see how it sets up in the first 30 minutes. Here's another pro gap. Look, it's gapping right, right over, it's gapping over last week's high from a bottoming pattern. So two-step process, put it in a window. Let's see what it does. That's what I'm gonna do. FWBI. Uber. I guess on CNBC that they might be spinning off one of their divisions, whatever. And if it can get through these tails, then I like the gap reversal. I like the breakout. Weekly, monthly are bullish, so keep it on the list. JP Morgan breakdown. Well, it's a breakdown on the 15-minute chart, yes, but the daily is absolutely nothing for me. We don't take breakdowns from the top to the bottom of the range. I guess so. It's a world cloud. It's a ETF, but if this can, how Greg was talking about the Qs being able to recover. This is an identical pattern like that. And what we mean by that is we have these two power bars, and I'm primarily just looking at the retracement levels. So notice how this retraced relative from the low here to the high. It retraced in the upper third. And I got a bullish weekly. Nothing to do today, but it's worth watching. PayPal, I see here gapping up for some reason, 30-minute high. Put spread idea. Square, I like longer term, so it needs to set up on the daily. I just saw Schwab going by the ticker, tank pre-market. I don't think it was earnings, but it's down a lot. It's a 180 reversal. It's an ugly gap. Wow, it's even below this 200 MA, but it's down a lot. So I'm surely not thinking short. All right, those are all those on that watch list. Let's go to earnings now. This was one we did I think a 175 put spread 2 days ago. And we took our money yesterday at 50% of max profit, but we talked about it as a new trade. And I said I actually like the 250 call spread better, but I said Condor was also fine. So even with it gapping down way the heck here, with 99% certainty, you'll have a beautiful winning trade at the open with volatility contraction and the options expiring tomorrow. So that would have been another one. This BJ, some of us shorted puts on this yesterday, the 70s. I actually had posted it as an official trade to the weekly options trade until I realized it was 9 DTE instead of 2, and I canceled it, but some people did it anyway. So that, we base these off patterns in the premium received. How do you figure what to bid? Kit, that's an excellent question. And I mean, the honest answer is experience, but if you want some criteria, it's how far away it is, how out of the money, and how many days to expiration, and how wild of an animal it is. So this has 9 DTE to go, right? Or 8 now. And it's gapping up to 77. So we sold it for 95. If it were expiring tomorrow, Kit, without a doubt, I think we'd get out at a nickel or less, without a doubt. So now you got to add another time. You got to add another week of time decay. So what you would do is look at the difference. Yeah, I'm going to do it right now because this isn't, well, no, I can't because this doesn't have weeklies. But if this had weeklies, what you would do is look at the difference in the ones expiring tomorrow versus next week, and you would just add that difference. So I'm giving you just based on experience, I would say I'll bet it goes down to a quarter for next week, 20 cents to a quarter. So let's look at it together, kid, at the open and see how good I am on that estimate. Asian yesterday, you know, I love talking about MT Live. Look, yeah, I know this is of last week, but last week this was a beautiful igniting gap. And notice the tail. Remember we talked about the tail. That tail gave you a 5-minute buy setup in you know on a pullback. But right now it's right now it's an exhaustion gap, short term. Short term. The weekly is still bullish, but short term it's up 5-6 bars in a huge gap. That's an exhaustion gap. That's actually a 1 DTE call spread. No, Rob, of course not. No. You got to look at days to expiration. Because Rob, you don't know the volatility crush is what the primary discussion is revolving around. So you cannot just say in a vacuum, oh, the theta time decay overnight is the theta is, you know, it should reduce this amount if it gaps. But we can talk about it later. All right, data. Potential double bottom. Although it's a bull sandwich on the weekly, so that's worth watching. 1412. I wouldn't call it a pro gap, but I would call it a very bullish gap. So let's just see what it does in the first 30 minutes. GE, Alex. Wow. Oh man, and that stopped us out. We were in trail stop mode because of the weak market. We had a directional and a put spread on this. Yeah, I know that's a nice gap. Yep. The CEO was on CNBC. TRP. It's one print up there. Let's see if that print is real. But I'll add it to the list. We're going to open up here in less than a minute. Hey, Rodolfo. Microsoft. All right, Len is triggering. Microsoft. I'm not sure about any news on Microsoft, but it did have a nice pre-market pop. All right, Len is good to go. Looks great. Stop yesterday or whatever stop I posted. Hershey alarm from yesterday. Hey, Hershey 30-minute high looks great. I'm going to set a new alarm at 240.75. Yeah, this is a beautiful trading range. Flat 20, 2 red bars ignored. Look at that SIVB middle chart just getting devastated. Man. And Alex, I do remember you warning us about the Bitcoin exposure on that thing. All right, Hershey. Long watch. All right, BJ, bottom right, gap's too big for me. Yeah, if I were in that, I'd just be taking my money. Actually, now that I see how big that gap is, I'll bet you can get out of those 9 DTE for somewhere between 10 and 20 cents would be my guess. Kid, if you want to watch it and tell me. All right, I'm going to put Hershey here. Put Hershey here. I looked a minute or two ago, but it wasn't open yet. Man, Civ B, you would think that that's a real bank, you know, you would think it's a regional bank, that it's real, that it's not trading like a friggin' biotech. Wow, the 125.